Picture this. You're standing on the edge of a boat, looking down into the dark blue water below. You know that somewhere, thousands of feet down, there's a bottom, solid ground, where the ocean ends and the Earth's crust begins. But what if I told you to imagine something different? What if there was no bottom at all? Welcome to Imagine This, where we explore the impossible and ask the questions that make reality feel just a little bit stranger. Today, we're diving into one of the most mind-bending scenarios imaginable. What if the ocean was truly bottomless, an endless abyss that went down forever? This isn't just about depth. This is about reimagining our entire planet, the laws of physics, and what it would mean for life as we know it. So take a deep breath, because we're about to plunge into the infinite. Before we dive into our bottomless scenario, let's establish what we're working with in reality. Our oceans currently average about 12,000 feet deep. That's roughly 3,700 meters. The deepest point we know of is the Challenger Deep in the Mariana Trench, plunging down nearly 36,000 feet, or about 11,000 meters. To put that in perspective, if you placed Mount Everest at the bottom of the Mariana Trench, its peak would still be over a mile underwater. But even at these crushing depths, there is a bottom. Beneath the water lies the oceanic crust, then the mantle, and eventually, thousands of miles down, the Earth's core. Our planet has structure, layers, a definite end to how far down you can go. The pressure at the bottom of the Mariana Trench is intense, over 1,000 times the atmospheric pressure at sea level. That's roughly 8 tons per square inch, pressing down on everything. Yet even here, life exists. Strange alien creatures adapted to the darkness and pressure thrive in these depths. But now, let's throw all of that away. Let's imagine that beneath our oceans, there is no crust, no mantle, no core, just water, forever, an infinite column of H2O extending down into eternity. What happens next? Here's where things get fascinating and immediately problematic. In our reality, water pressure increases as you descend because of the weight of all the water above you. Every 33 feet you go down, the pressure increases by about 1 atmosphere. This is why deep-sea diving requires special equipment and careful decompression. But if the ocean were truly bottomless, we'd run into what scientists call an infinite column problem. Think about it. If there's infinite water below you, there's infinite weight pressing down. At any depth you choose, there would be an infinite amount of water beneath that point, creating infinite pressure. Under normal physics, this would cause some serious problems. The pressure would become so immense that the water itself would be crushed into exotic states of matter we rarely see on Earth. As you go deeper and deeper, the water molecules would be forced so close together that they'd transform. First, around 100,000 feet down, normal water would transition into what's called Ice 7, a crystalline form of ice that exists despite incredibly high temperatures, crushed into existence purely by pressure. Keep going deeper, and you'd encounter even stranger forms, Ice X, Ice 11, forms of ice that scientists have only created in laboratories under extreme conditions. But here's the really wild part. If the pressure truly became infinite, the water at the bottom, or rather at every point below a certain depth, would be compressed into something called degenerate matter. This is the same state of matter found in white dwarf stars, where atoms are crushed so tightly that electrons are stripped from their nuclei and packed together in ways that defy everyday physics. At some theoretical depth in our bottomless ocean, the water would be denser than the densest materials we know of on Earth. It would be a dark, compressed hellscape, unlike anything we can truly imagine. Now let's zoom out and think about what this means for our planet as a whole. If Earth had a bottomless ocean, it wouldn't be Earth anymore, not in any recognizable sense. The fundamental structure of our planet would be completely different. Instead of a rocky sphere with water on its surface, we'd have something more like an infinite cylinder or column of water with some rock and land floating somewhere near the top. But wait, what does top even mean anymore? What's holding up the continents? In our reality, continents are part of tectonic plates that float on the Earth's mantle like massive rafts. They're connected to the solid structure of the planet. But in a bottomless ocean scenario, the land masses would need to literally float on the surface of this infinite water column. This creates a bizarre situation. The continents would be like icebergs, except instead of ice in water, it's rock in water. For this to work, the continents would need to be less dense than water on average, which they're not in reality. Continental crust is about 2.7 times denser than water. So either our continents would sink slowly into the infinite abyss, never to be seen again, or we'd need to reimagine them as somehow buoyant, perhaps hollow, or made of materials much lighter than real rock. And what about gravity? In our reality, Earth's gravity pulls us toward the center of the planet's mass. But if there's an infinite amount of water below, the gravitational situation becomes nightmarishly complex. Infinite mass would create infinite gravitational pull, which would either collapse everything into a singularity, essentially creating a black hole, or we'd need to invoke some very creative physics to explain why we're not all being crushed instantly. Perhaps in this scenario, the water extends infinitely downward, but only a certain amount of it contributes to local gravity. Or perhaps gravity itself works differently in this universe. Either way, the Earth you're standing on wouldn't follow the same rules. Let's assume we've somehow worked out the physics through magic, alternative laws of nature, or sheer imaginative determination. Now the question becomes, what would life look like in and around a bottomless ocean? On the surface, things might seem surprisingly normal. Waves would still crash on beaches, the sun would still reflect off the water, and boats would still float. The first few hundred feet might be indistinguishable from our reality. Fish would swim, coral reefs would grow, and marine ecosystems would function much as they do now. But as you descend, things would get progressively stranger. Marine biologists have divided our oceans into zones based on depth and light penetration. There's the sunlight zone near the surface, then the twilight zone, and eventually the midnight zone where no natural light reaches. In our reality, these zones end at the seafloor, but in a bottomless ocean, they would continue indefinitely. Imagine the life forms that might evolve in the deeper reaches. In our oceans, creatures have evolved bioluminescence, giant eyes for capturing the faintest light, and bizarre feeding strategies. But these evolved with the understanding that there's a bottom, a source of nutrients that sink down and accumulate. In a bottomless ocean, there would be no seafloor to trap nutrients, no benthic ecosystems recycling organic matter. Everything that dies would simply sink forever. This would create a one-way nutrient flow, constantly draining the upper zones of essential elements for life. Unless, of course, some mechanism evolved to bring nutrients back up. Perhaps creatures that feed in the darker zones and migrate upward, or massive upwelling currents driven by the temperature differentials in this infinite column. And what about the deepest zones? Would there be life adapted to the crushing pressures thousands of miles down? Could there be entire ecosystems in the exotic ice layers living in conditions we can barely comprehend? Organisms whose biology is so fundamentally different from surface life that we might not even recognize them as living. The deepest parts of our bottomless ocean might host life forms more alien than anything we'd find on other planets. Let's talk about exploration. Humanity has always been driven to explore the unknown, to push boundaries and see what lies beyond. We've sent people to the moon and robots to Mars. We've explored the deepest trenches of our actual oceans. But a bottomless ocean, that's an entirely different challenge. In our reality, James Cameron descended to the Challenger Deep in a specially designed submersible, reaching the deepest point on Earth. It took hours to descend, and the pressure was so intense that the craft's walls compressed by several inches. But he made it, touched bottom, and returned. In a bottomless ocean, there is no making it to the bottom. Every depth record you set is just a number. There's always further to go. You could descend for days, weeks, years, and you'd never reach an end point. You'd never have that moment of accomplishment, of planting a flag and saying, "We made it." Instead, exploration becomes about zones and milestones. Perhaps we'd set goals, reaching the depth where water becomes ice 7, descending to where the pressure exceeds that of Jupiter's atmosphere, going deeper than any known form of matter has been tested. Each expedition would be a journey into increasing danger and mystery. Your submarine would need to withstand ever-increasing pressure, and at some point, even our strongest materials would fail. The craft would be crushed like a tin can. But perhaps with advanced technology, materials we haven't invented yet, force fields or some form of pressure equalization, we could go deeper, and every 1,000 miles down, we'd discover new phenomena, new forms of matter, possibly new forms of life. The bottomless ocean would become humanity's ultimate frontier, an infinite mystery literally beneath our feet, a reminder that no matter how far we go, there's always further to explore. Let's step back from the physics and biology and think about what a bottomless ocean means philosophically and psychologically. Humans are uncomfortable with infinity. We like boundaries, edges, endings. Even our universe, as vast as it is, we describe as having a beginning, the Big Bang, and potentially an ending in the far future. The idea of something truly infinite, something without end, challenges our understanding of existence. A bottomless ocean would be a daily reminder of infinity. You could stand at the beach, look out at the water, and know that beneath that surface lies literally endless depth. Every person would grow up with the knowledge that there's a direction downward, where there is no end, where you could travel forever and never reach a conclusion. This might change how we think about exploration, about goals, about achievement. In a world where something is truly infinite, where does ambition go? Do we still strive to reach the unreachable, or does the impossibility of completion make the journey itself more meaningful? There's something terrifying about it too. Thalassophobia, the fear of deep water, is already a common phobia. Imagine how much more intense that fear would be if the ocean literally had no bottom. Every time you swam, you'd be floating above an infinite void. Every boat journey would be a trip over endless nothingness. But there's also something beautiful in the concept. A bottomless ocean represents limitless possibility, infinite potential, and the ultimate unknown. It's a physical manifestation of the mysteries that drive human curiosity. So, what if the ocean was bottomless? The reality is that our universe probably doesn't allow for true physical infinities in the way we've described. Physics tends to prevent such paradoxes, and Earth's structure depends on having a solid foundation. But exploring this impossible scenario reveals something important about how we understand our world. It shows us how interconnected everything is, how the depth of the ocean affects gravity, pressure, life, and even human psychology. It reminds us that the seemingly simple rules we take for granted, like things have a bottom, are actually crucial to the way our reality functions. And maybe, just maybe, it makes you appreciate that when you look at the ocean, there is a bottom down there. The abyss is deep, but it's not infinite. And somehow, that's both comforting and a little disappointing. What do you think? Would you want to live in a world with a bottomless ocean? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey into the impossible, hit that like button and subscribe to Imagine This for more explorations of the scenarios that make reality seem stranger. Until next time, keep imagining.